Hey, this is Jonah with Gray Area. Welcome to our series Spotlight, where our mission is to build a bigger and more united house music community by sharing new and exciting festivals, artists, and event brands with you. In this interview, you'll hear from Frankey and Sandrino, icons in the worlds of melodic house and techno, and label bosses for the labels Sung Over Histories. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more interviews like this. I like to ask everyone, which is if you guys have kind of a moment in time, kind of earlier in your lives when you felt like you really started to discover and fall in love with dance music.
Yeah, basically, for me, it was more natural. I somehow always had an interest for electronic music. But to take it a step further, like the first time I fell in love with the nightlife itself and the DJing as an art form was 1 year before this party in June '93 when I went to my first rave, and it was in a Biskuithalle in Bonn, and Cosmic Baby and Steve Mason played back then on the party, and I was only 13, and I had quite some luck to get into the club. But what I did was half of the night I was dancing on the dance floor in between all those adult crazy going people. And the other half of the night I was watching the DJ, what he's doing and how he had the control of the full dance floor. But it was back then what I liked is that when I watched the DJ, but nobody else was watching the DJ. So the DJ was working obviously all night with his records, and the people were interacting with each other, dancing, going crazy. And it was, I really loved it. And this picture in my head is still the idealistic um, and purest form of a night, of a honest night, the DJ is working or is responsible for the soundtrack, reads the vibe and everything, but the people are interacting with each others and dancing and having fun and having the time of their lives.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
basically,
and for interestingly, like what you said, even I have a totally different background, but this moment that you were describing of just seeing what the DJ is doing, and that's not that he doesn't have really the attention. That was one of the key moments for me too. And actually, even before I understood the music, because I had this background of playing in all kinds of bands and a jazz big band, bar piano. I was totally into handmade music. I played piano or bass guitar in all kinds of bands, and like almost every day of the week, I was like fully invested in this for many years. And then I came there to my first techno party, and this was for me like the most pure and real and intense way of celebrating music. It was like people, no matter what, how they dressed, it was totally mixed up. We're just together celebrating music, and in some corner was somebody taking care of the music, but it was not how I was used to. Everybody staring to a stage and want to see like a star. And yeah, unfortunately, this has changed also, because still also in our scene, I think the people like to watch up to a stage and see a star. But yeah, that's also how it started for me. But yeah, it took me a little bit longer to really understand this monotone, always the same kick drum, that to get used to that concept. It took a year more to, but now I get it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's like when you kind of have that first moment, it can be a pretty amazing experience. And there's obviously such a community around this music. I'm just wondering for each of you, do you have a memory of the first time that you played an actual DJ set, whether it was a memory of your first performance together or individually, could have been at a real club for your friends, whatever it was.
so it's already over 20 years ago. I think the very first one was basically in Romania. I played my first gig in a club. I it was a funny story because I was collecting records, and I just called this club in Romania. I don't know, it was end of the '90s, I guess, or sometimes yeah, almost end of the 90s. And I called this club in Romania and I presented myself like, hey, I'm a Romanian in Germany living, and I'm a DJ and I'm coming to Romania to visit my family, and can I play at your club? And I said, yeah, come. And I think this was my first DJ set ever in a club like this, not
Wow.
paid, not nothing. I was just happy to play in a club, because Zambara back then was in Timișoara, actually a really cool club, and had where like they had all the people from Global Underground, like Steve Lawler and Sander Kleinenberg, and but also some German artists, and they had some really cool lineups over there, and I was like happy. Just that easy, they let me play. I just called, I asked, and they let me play. Okay, good. And yeah, I took the chance, I played. It was awful, but
Yeah, I had a very weird one too, a very unusual one, because I was just starting then to make music on my own, and then I had my first few tracks ready, and I started to give it to one or two DJs that I knew and were connected a little bit to labels, and then yeah, one label, Freeform from Hamburg, they gave me a call and they liked my music, and they started to releasing it, and they had a few EPs out there, and then I had no idea about DJing. I never was DJing before and had the plan to DJ also. And then they called me, hey, you want to come? We're doing a party here on New Year's Eve in Hamburg, and you can play your music for us. So, okay. And then, yeah, it was then really in like a huge venue, and I played there for 3,000 people the first time. And I came with my studio headphones, and I couldn't hear anything because it was fucking loud, and I had no DJ headphones. I didn't know how loud it can be. Yeah, that was quite crazy. I had one of the first CD burners so that I could burn my own music before they even were available for PC. Yeah, and then I was there in front of a lot of people, and it was quite kind of strange, but it was also good. The reaction was nice, actually.
It's great. I think it's funny, like for people coming up now, you know, the grind to kind of break through as a DJ is, you know, still kind of similar and maybe even harder because there's more people just involved and people who are trying to make it. But I think like now you just need your USB and headphones and you show up. And I think people who are doing it now don't even understand that there was a time when like you needed to carry around a bag of CDs or your creative vinyls, like just to play. You know, I wanted to kind of get into just, you know, you guys have very interesting backgrounds and very different backgrounds. Frank, as you alluded to, you know, you were a little more classically trained. I think, you know, you kind of started your career playing a lot of guitar and piano, and Sandrino, you were coming up more in the club world, as you mentioned. How'd you guys meet? And, you know, if you could just touch on kind of what some of those years were like before the two of you linked up.
yeah, basically, I used to live in the same area as Frankie. I mean, it was I used to live in Leverkusen, which is like 50 kilometers from Frankie's place, and somewhere in the middle is this city called Wuppertal, and they used to have a very famous club called Bhutan Club. And yeah, it was at Bhutan Club where we actually met in person, even though we had somehow the same surroundings. We knew the same people and everything. But in the club, as Frankie was regularly playing there, me being resident of the club, so it was just a matter of time till we personally met. And back then, yeah. We meet as we knew each other, we started to be friends, and we didn't think of working together. Just to a later stage was it actually that we got together into the studio and we tried just out to work together. It was not planned, hey, let's do a duo or something like this. We just said, okay, hey, let's try it out in a studio and see the outcome. And then yeah, it was pretty fast, very clear that it works in the studio, the chemistry is right, everything is working well, and we just give it a shot.
Yeah, but I think also that, I mean, as I remember, and it was also, of course, there was kind of a huge group of people here who were involved in creating parties or like DJing, whatever. And even before really knowing Sandrino, I knew already, and people were talking about that, he takes it a little bit more serious than most of the other people, and he has more passion for it and stuff. And also, and I guess in some way also, Sandrino knew that about me, in terms of making music and stuff. So that was just probably a matter of time that we found together.
Yeah, and it's interesting because just listening to some of the early music that you guys put out, whether it was like "We Are All Dust" in 2013 or the "Star Child Lost" EP, "C-Fi," they sounded so clean and professional, and the sound design was really amazing. And it feels, at least from an outside perspective, like you guys almost just hit the ground running. I'm wondering, when you first got into the studio together, were there any struggles to kind of find a style, or meshing your styles, and who was influencing you at the time to kind of go in that direction musically?
Actually, the best thing is that we never felt kind of a struggle. And if there is struggle, it is actually very good, because the struggle brings you to the next step and to the next point, and to the next step. And but we never had a struggle in terms of creativity loss, or struggle to create new ideas, to write new music or whatever. I think this is our least problem we have, if I can say so, because in the studio is always we have always very nice moments, in different which direction it takes. It's just very clear. Maybe it's just because when we go to the studio, we actually try to have fun, to ignore what is going outside and just lock ourselves into the studio. Sometimes we also take a little bit of acid and just have fun listening to what we're doing, on just trying things out, and then we take it from there.
But in the beginning, I have to say, it was a little different in the beginning, for me at least, because I was like a little bit coming from another scene, more in this progressive house kind of thing. And then Sandrino kind of introduced me also to kind of a new, different world of more musical kind of house music, whatever, however you want to call it. And that was kind of fascinating and very new for me. And even in the beginning, I was like very free in my head, because I didn't know anything about the scene, and I was actually like completely trusting Sandrino in this. Especially, he has a very clear vision about which sounds to choose and stuff like that. And it was just for me it was like more like exploring a new world, which maybe was also the reason that everything sounded it was never forced. It was just like a very new, exciting time in that moment when we started, actually, for me.
Do you guys find, I think often when I talk to artists and they reflect on their very early work, it can be kind of a mixed bag in terms of looking back on it, whether they still like it, they don't like it, they like to play it out. I'm wondering, when you look back on some of those tracks from like 2012, 2013, are those still tracks that are fond for you and you like to play them, or do they feel kind of in the past now?
No, actually, they don't, for me, I have to say. Always when I sometimes listen to old stuff, it's always like, that sounds, I'm actually happy with it. And I could imagine, especially now playing stuff from 2013, it's probably a lot of people, kids on the parties, even don't know the music or something. But it doesn't sound like old to me, like some other stuff I did in my life that it sounds really old to me now, but our stuff actually not.
No, it doesn't. Also for me, it doesn't sound old. Some of my favorites going back are still we did in the past, but still with the idea in the head that the best is not, yet not written down. So it's always trying to move forward, but without forgetting where you're coming from. This means that I'm very proud and happy on every single piece of music we did, but I don't want to repeat it again, so it's always move forward in terms of creating, even though if it's, for example, I don't know how to say it, I think maybe back in the days our music was a little bit more hitty, which maybe these days not. But I think these days the music is a little bit more meaningful and deeper, and it has maybe more to say, at least to me, and yeah. But as I said, going back, for example, Save is one of my all-time fave tracks from us, and every time I'm listening to it, I'm very proud that this is a song coming from us, and for sure, when I remember myself, I play it. If not, whenever I listen to it, I think, oh, I should put it back in the box. I want to play it. So just a second. Ich bin ganz kurz in einem, ich bin in einem Gespräch. Nee, war noch nicht. Kommst du bald wieder rum, ne? Jo, tschüss. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I'm here in I have a little furniture store, and
Nice.
And my partner is just for grocery, because we have a little wine tasting tonight here, and I'm alone. And we are in an area where we have some crazy people out there, which I kind of like. And
that's great.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I'm glad you just mentioned it. Save. You guys have this kind of long-standing relationship with the guys over at Innervisions. For those who are listening who don't know, it's a really, really influential label run by Dixon and MA. Kind of a two-part question here. One, I'm just curious how you connected with those guys and what the relationship is, and then the second piece is Akamar track and EP, and that was obviously such a huge track both for you guys and for the label. I'm wondering, when you're in the studio and you finish up a track like that, does it feel the same as the other ones because you love all your music, or when you finish something like that, do you kind of have this sense that this one might be a little different?
I mean, I think one of my strengths is to realize, indifferent if it's our music or music from other people, I clearly can hear a difference if something is a little bit more, has something more to say than others, And I didn't know Stefan personally at all, so I sent him an email, and because I wanted him to listen to Safe and give me some feedback on it, and yeah, I needed to insist, and I tried it 4 times because I knew, no, man, I need the answer here. You need to get back to it, and then he really got back to me, and he signed it, actually.
The funny thing is, while Sandrino was luckily fully invested because he believed so much in the track and was insisting them to listen to it, I actually, at the time where we produced the track, I had no idea what is Innervisions. I didn't even know.
That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, I think your track there kind of helps, put them into the spotlight even more. And obviously, they've done a great job building out the brand, and, kind of going off of that, about a year or so after, you guys will obviously be able to give the exact date, but you announced your label, Some Over Histories, in 2016. And
yes,
I'm just curious, I think for those who are listening, and from an outside perspective, I think for a fan, we see so many artists have labels, and it feels like everyone has one, and it kind of seems like, oh, it's not that hard to do. But obviously running a label is, a ton of work and very challenging. I'm wondering if you guys could just tell us about kind of why you decided to start a label, and you know, what it's like just been working on it. And as you know, like when you came on the call and you mentioned, you know, you just had an artist send you some awesome music. What is it you're looking for from artists and demos when you want to sign something?
Basically, it's very easy. Music needs to be touching. Yeah, this is the main thing. Yeah. While Frankey is more looking in technical details on a track. Yeah. Which I'm also very interested in. And a track should be, I mean, in quality wise, needs to be very high end. Although I'm also looking into something which touches me. And at the end of the day, if there is a track which is really, really doing something with me, yeah, then maybe the quality or maybe the groove, like Frankey always like to say, because the groove is important, or the drumming and everything gets a little bit more in the background. And I just go with the vibe of a song rather than the quality of a song. And for the label, I mean, I don't know if people think there is a specific sound we're representing, because actually when we select music, we don't have any sound in mind. So whatever comes and whatever bring something on the table which both of us likes a lot, yeah, this is what we are going to release at the end of the day. Indifferent if it's breakbeats, or maybe a little bit more electronica or techno or house or melodic or whatever you want to call it. It's important that it's music we both like and it's interesting and it sounds, at least for us, fresh and new.
I think also what I mean, usually the pre-selection is going through Sandrino. He's more the selector and collector, and people send him the music, and if he finds something that stands out, he sends it to me. And the thing is, actually, I think what we're looking for, even we have quite also like a different music tastes, but we always agree on the good stuff, because we're looking for something that stands out and has like a character, like a unique character, that the artistic language, the music language is like a unique one, you know, just from this person, that it sounds like nobody else. And also what you also mentioned often, Sandrino, that it's maybe also timeless in a way, you know, that it still can be a track with the same feelings and emotions and impact and freshness in 10 years maybe also. And that's a little bit what we're looking for. Not for a certain style, but it has to have some character and then somehow stand out.
When it comes to your own music, you know, I think you guys didn't put a track out on the label yourself for about a year or so. You know, what is the decision process when you guys create a track behind, we want to send this somewhere else or we want to host it ourselves?
Actually, usually we try to keep this kind of considerations out of the studio. You know, we start thinking about it when something is done. But in the studio, we just do music, and we don't start thinking about making it fit for some label or stuff like this. And after we just we speak together or with manager about maybe it was a good idea to where would it fit. And yeah, and now recently it just felt right from the beginning to release our last EP on our label. Was just kind of a no-brainer. I don't know why.
Basically is also like we wanted to escape the dependency on labels, on their timelines, on their agreements, on everything, you know, and just being more independent. And of course, as much as I love, for example, Innervisions or other labels where we work with, you know, sometimes the taste goes different ways, and a label develops, and this doesn't mean the label develops in a bad way, but in a different way, and maybe not the way we or I feel connected to any longer in such a way, for example, like for a few years back. So it's just logical. Also, this is why we started a label, to have something which is more connected to our idealistic vision of electronic music. And we actually decided, or not decided, we spoke about it, that we just want to release on our own label our music. It's just a thought. If we do it, it's another thing, because something will always happen, and maybe you get together with the other people, new people. Maybe we will do another Innervisions or whatever, or Mool music or whatever. But the intention now is, let's release it on our own label. We have our own label. We have very nice people, good people working with us on the label. I don't see the point to do it somewhere else at this stage, to be honest.
Absolutely. Well, you guys certainly rang true to that this year. The And Hope EP was really awesome, and as you mentioned earlier, you said yourself you felt like kind of recently you maybe have gotten a little more experimental, a little more kind of in that organic world. I wanted to ask specifically about the track TGA. Just kind of going through all the music you guys put out, I felt like it wasn't super often where you are working with a vocalist. And so I'm wondering, what the process is like for you. How do you find the right person? And are you making that decision beforehand that you want to make a vocal track, or have you made the track and you just know that it needs somebody singing on it?
Yeah, it started this time with the singer Ia Öberg, that old friend of mine from Sweden that I was touring with another project, that at some lounge in some airport he introduced me to this voice, because a friend of him was creating some like singer-songwriter songs with this lady singing, and just showed to me to the headphones that it's maybe something interesting to work with. And there was something into her voice, something special that I really liked. And then I showed it to Sandrino, and yeah, he agreed. And then we created Ways of the Sun. And then everything else, I think you were more in contact with both. And then they sent us over the years a few more tracks. And at some point we felt like, oh, we could do another one with this part also of the voice really fits nice into something that we could do. And yeah, we went just for a second time because we really love her voice.
Yeah, this was since Ways of the Sun. We always wanted to repeat or to start to work again with Ia Öberg, and then Carl, he sent me over some vocal snippets, some ideas, and it was like, I think 4 or 5 different ideas, and then we automatically felt attracted to the idea of TGA. And actually it was the way around. We didn't build the track and then we asked for the vocals on it. We had the lyrics, and then we thought of something which can be built around those lyrics.
So kind of with the whole EP, it was one of the longer, if not longest EPs you guys have put out. And again, as you mentioned, I think you felt it was a little more experimental. Can you just take us through kind of the process of creation and how you feel maybe that's changed for you over the years, this one kind of going in a little different direction than some of the earlier work?
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a process of different time frames. And we try to capture like different moods, yeah, even though it may seem to be in the same bubble or born out of the same bubble. For us, it's not. It's completely different. There are 4 pieces of music which you can categorize differently, and everything or every song has its own story. As well as in when you hear it as in a making, in a process. So for example, like and Hope 40 or Hope 43, basically it's simple as it is. We took acid in the studio. Frank took the bass guitar and we start to experiment finally after all these years with a real instrument. Yeah, because Frankey, he has all the skills, but we never use them till this date. So, and yeah, on acid, bass guitar, and Hope was very fast born.
But it was also for me actually, because while you mentioned it, and you were not the first one who mentioned is that this EP is different, or as you said, experimental. It actually never felt that way to me while we were doing it. It was just something that happened in that moment. Like the Green Leaf track was just, we were sitting here in my home and just before going to bed, and I showed him some sounds from a nice synthesizer, and then it just happened in 2 hours, and that track was done. It was just in that moment and just natural, you know. And so it never felt that we were doing let's do something different. It was never like the plan. We just did music.
I think with a different, or maybe it's a general intrinsic motivation we have that we don't want to repeat ourselves. So always, even though the music is in the same genre, but we always try to evolve or to do something, little things different or better or whatever than the last time. This is just a natural process for us in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I think just the way it evolves over time, that's really great. And hopefully we see you guys using more instruments going forward. I mean, this EP was really, really special and it was a great listen. You know, going forward, I'm just curious kind of on the release side, do you guys have plans to put more music out this year? And then, you know, as we're getting ready at some point soon to return to live performances, I'm wondering if there is, you know, a vision that you guys have for kind of a live aspect to your show, a visual piece. You know, if you had like unlimited budget, you know, what would you spend? What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, we just finished a new EP, which we are now thinking when to do it, when to release it. We have a couple of remixes we did like in the last, actually, one of it is already 3 years waiting to be released, but still one of my favorites. It will come out soon. It's a remix we did for Andre Lodeman like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's now finally coming out next month or this month. And then we have some other stuff also on Bedrock. Bedrock was back then, like 20 years ago. It was very influential to my musical direction, to be honest. So I'm very happy we do something together with Bedrock. And then, of course, working on the label. And going to the second question with the live aspect, we recently tried a kind of a hybrid set where I mix or I play the music, maybe with a different approach on the musical selection. And Frankey is connected with his sound card and synth and keyboards, and he's playing live melodies, FX over without exaggerating it, just the way to feel it very organically and naturally, and or to add something on top of it. And I kind of like this hybrid of it because it adds it adds this spontaneous thing on it. It adds something to it, and it's not for all night long or forever for a longer set, but it's something more compact for a 1.5 hours performance. And I really like that because it's musically very interesting, and it feels very different while playing. So this is definitely something we wanna follow, and maybe also to bring someone who is doing the lights to it with us, because the light performance to music, sing to the music, is as much as important as the music.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, very much looking forward to seeing that hopefully one day soon. Just the last question I have for you guys is, obviously as label heads and, you know, influential producers, are there any kind of up and coming or just new artists that you guys have been listening to recently that you want to shout out?
Imperieux.
I agree.
Imperieux.
All right, we'll have to get him on the channel then, huh?
Yeah, Imperio is, we are happy having him on board on some of our histories. He is a very special guy with a special sound, with a very eclectic and unique signature sound. And when I'm listening to the music he's sending to us, and then I need some time away from his music in order to accept the other music, or to listen to the other music, because it seems to me very advanced and very far away from everything else.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to look what's coming from this in the upcoming years. There will be a lot, I think.
Well, one to watch then. That's a good note, and we'll be sure to reach out to get them on the interview channel, right? That's really awesome. I'll have to check them out. Just want to say again, thank you guys so much for coming on and taking the time today. Really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
This was awesome. It was really cool learning more about
Thank
you
you.
guys and hearing all your music, and hopefully we'll see you in the States sometime soon.
Yeah, basically,
Okay.
I started to work on a visa procedure right now, and I hope we, or in this case me, can make it end of the year, because I'm also
Not
looking
welcome in
forward
your
to come
country.
back.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep our eyes out, our ears
Yep.
peeled. Thanks, guys.
Ciao,
Frank.
thank you. Ciao,
Have a good
ciao.
one. Ciao.